A treat for you, a treat for me. Amanda Zahui B is here. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your host, Howard Megdal. I want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. Just so awe-inspiring how you guys keep showing up for us. Over 100,000 listens each of the last 3 months, and we're on track to do it again thanks to you showing up 6 days a week for past, present, and future of women's basketball. And of course, it is not just me, it is the incredible, young, talented group putting this work together at the Next every single day, over 100 reported pieces about the sport every single month. TheNextHoops.com, $9 a month, $72 a month. We are building a place where we can talk about the game all the time. And somebody that we talk about all the time in the Next Slack and in our coverage is the great Amanda Zahui B, who is joining us today here on the podcast, here with the fever, with just like a killer hoodie, by the way. We were talking about off the air before we got here. But you look very comfortable. You look very much at home right away here. So kind of take me through, like, what are the top lines of what it's been like since, so our listeners know you were acquired from the Washington Mystics, and, what that's been like for you over these past couple weeks.
Yeah, the first couple of days were definitely a whirlwind. Honestly, I had no idea the trade was going to happen. My agent called, and then she called and said there's a possibility, and then within 20 minutes, she called and was like, "Yeah, the trade happened, and you go in Indiana." And then I spoke to Coach and Lynn, and they were like, "You can stay in DC because we're coming to play them." So my first game was actually against DC, which was very weird.
Sure.
Hadn't gotten to know the girls before I played with them. And, then we had a couple games and we went to All-Star break. So it was kind of like I'm still very new. But I'm really enjoying myself, to be honest. And I feel that I'm surrounded by great people and a group that's eager to get better and learn and just become great together.
It's interesting to me. Obviously, it wasn't a trade that was long in discussion before it happened, to be sure. But it also makes a lot of sense whenever, and we've had Lynn on the show so many times and had her again last week, where, look, there are teams that talk about culture and there are teams that care about culture. And Lynn is in terms of, making sure it's the right people for this fit. Over and over again, when people bring you in, it is with that idea. I wonder what it means to you that is A, the way you conduct yourself as a player and a person, but B, that people come to understand that is what they get when they bring in Amanda Zahui B to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great compliment, obviously, but I think the greatest compliment is that it goes to how my parents raised me, right? They're my backbone and they're my front and my side. Um, and it just makes me proud that I can make them proud in that way. And just know that, I always said that my purpose on earth is not being whatever, a lawyer, a basketball player, whatever the case might be, but rather being a human that brings light and love to others. I've always said that. So having others see that and value that means a lot. It means like a lot to me.
Doing it here, doing it with a team that, listen, you know this league from the inside out. It feels like they are on the cusp. Is that what it feels like inside that locker room right now when you're seeing them out on the court? Like, this is a team that is about to make the leap.
Yes, absolutely. I think that we have all the right pieces to build something very special.
Mhm.
Um, and this team been missing experience. We have a lot of young players on the team. Um, and I'm not that player that has played the most games and, the greatest player ever. We all know this, but I've been around. I've been in multiple different locker rooms. So I can bring that, experience on how to just kind of conduct yourself, like on the court, like when to slow down, when to speed it up, and that's something that I think we saw yesterday's game.
Yeah.
With 90 seconds to go, Washington went on a run on us, and there was a timeout, and I was like, okay, everybody, let's just take a deep breath. Like we have this under control, but as long as we stay together and we just execute and we don't rush anything, we will walk away with a win. And I was talking to coach after the game, and she was like, that's exactly why I brought you in, just to be that voice of calming, I guess, with experience.
Was that the idea? I mean, she's saying that after the fact, but I'm just wondering for you, because that's got to be a delicate situation, a delicate balance. You're in a new place. It's 90 seconds to go in a game. How do you decide when to talk? How do you decide when to um, shout on the court the way the cameras caught you doing yesterday in a
Yeah. Well, just to say about that, when I was like shouting and stuff after that one shot,
yeah.
for me, that was to see that ball go in was like I broke whatever block been in front of me, right?
Mhm.
Everyone knows I can shoot. Everyone knows that I'm a solid player, but I've been struggling, and it's the truth. And to see that ball go in at that time, it was like I told everyone like that was just like I guess it was like a yell or a scream of like finally, like I felt good about it. And then I remember turning around to the bench because Washington took a timeout and I saw all of my teammates. Coach was damn near running out on the court. And it just felt like, all right, this is great. Like I feel good about this.
Mhm.
Um, but I've always been a person who speaks up, right? You know this. Like I'm never really going to sit quiet. And I'm always going to speak up on what I feel, how I see things, and what is right. And I did that the first game in Washington when we played against Washington. I spoke up after the game, and I addressed a couple of things. And Victoria Saxton and Aaliyah, they were like, "Thank you. Like we haven't had that, right?" But that's just who I am. It's not so much about thinking about how or when or who's in the room.
Mhm.
I did it in Washington. I did it when I played in LA, New York, right? So it's just who I am because I always want to see those who are around me to be successful. So yeah.
It's I mean, it is not, to my mind, an accident that Indiana played a bunch of close games but didn't pull them out, and you were there, and they played a close game and did pull it out. So that does not seem like a coincidence to me. I do want to talk a little more Indiana and a little more big picture, but just in terms of DC, and I know it's been, let's say, a rocky road from a WNBA perspective over the last couple of years. And, to be in DC and to suddenly and unexpectedly leave, just kind of take me through how you process that. You obviously you have practice from other moves, but like, what was that moment like? And how did you navigate that of like, these players who were your teammates and suddenly they're on the other side?
Yeah, I think I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I'm very in tune with my emotions and my feelings. So when the trade did happen, I went emotionally first. I
Mhm.
was thinking, wow, like DC is the first team that I've played for where I felt safe, where the love and the respect was genuine across the board, right? Um, we all know I went in with KT and Slim, and I played with them in LA, and we are like the three amigas. So I already knew I had my safe space with them. But then coming into a locker room where I really found family and people that will be in my life forever, um, and the trade happening so fast, that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because, I had my certain people that I'm like morning hugs every single day, like, you know. Um, but as far as basketball wise,
Hmm.
in my career, I think this was the greatest move for me to just find myself and just be me without any kind of doubt. Um, and it's hard. It's hard to separate that right away. Um, and my teammates right when I got traded in DC, they called, they messaged, and they were like, "Are you okay?" And that's the beauty of that team, of those human beings on there, that they genuinely care for you as a person. And that was hard because you don't come around that often, right? It was the first time I've been in a healthy locker room um, in all my years of a pro. Um, but then quick turnaround, and I meet the girls in the lobby in the sea of the hotel, and I felt love right away. And the ones I didn't see that night because I came in very late, um, came up and hugged on the bus before shoot around. And it was like, okay, you guys are making this transition so easy and so smooth. And I genuinely appreciate that. I appreciate people just showing love
Hmm.
and allowing themselves to get to know me, and excuse me, and allowing me to get to know them.
I
Um,
I just love
it's rare.
every
You
part
said
of that.
what?
I just love
Yeah.
every part of that. Both the fact that and again, this is obvious. Like for your career to be this veteran presence, to my mind, I've covered this league a minute. You'll get to do that as long as you want to do it because there is
Right.
a role for that is necessary in this league, but also just both sides of it. All right, we've got more that I want to talk about with that. Bigger picture, your arc as well. First, want to talk about FanDuel, who has a really interesting offer for our listeners. You take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel, and you get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets, up to $200. So you bet $20, you land 200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's 200 you can spend betting anything from the money line to over under to who you think is going to hit the first home run of a particular game, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit fanduel.com/locked on. That's fanduel.com/LOCKEDON to get up to $200 in bonus bets. Fanduel.com/locked on. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. So in segment two, I want to go bigger picture first and talk about the Amanda Zahui B career arc. Okay. And so I need, as a point of personal privilege, to take it back to 2015. We talked a lot in the next Slack about draft day fits.
Oh God.
I have made the argument that your 2015 draft day fit is the best in the history of the league, and there is a lot of support for it. I'm wondering how you feel about that, whether you think I'm off base about it, or if you think that there's something to it, and just the way in which that draft night, how you think about it now with all that has followed with the career that you've had.
Oh God. Okay. I did not expect that. I thought you were going to roast my outfit. Oh. Okay, so talk about the fit itself.
I just mean, you look back now, would you do it differently? Yeah, I'm telling you,
Absolutely.
you would. Okay, all right.
Oh, yes. So I think that
But it was so good. It was so great. You think I'm wrong here? Listen, I could be wrong.
thank you. Thank you. Um, God, yeah, that was who I was at that time. And I loved bow ties at the point of my life, and I felt very comfortable wearing that.
Yeah,
And I think that's the one thing, that I appreciate about that outfit is that I was comfortable.
right.
And that's all you want to be when you're getting drafted and get up on stage, right? Well, would I wear it today? No. I would wear something completely different.
Sure.
Um, but I also think that represents the growth and yeah, of my career and how my journey been,
Hmm.
right? I started off one way and I am completely different than what I was in 2015, both on and off the court. And I think that it's just been a beautiful journey. It hasn't always been the way I wanted it to go, but it's definitely been a beautiful, beautiful journey that I'm so extremely grateful for. And I'm really grateful that that is not my style anymore.
That is all wonderful to hear. I will say further, right? I think it meant something in a larger sense too, right? That
Oh, absolutely.
on draft night, and if you had, for the listeners, if you haven't seen it or you don't remember, I remember I was there, but you like if you don't remember, like check it out, and just Google it to be able to see. But it was part of a sea change of players being able to dress up and wear what was comfortable for them at
Mm,
the same time. And it wasn't fitting into a particular box the way we had seen so much of the time for the WNBA. And that's why it resonates for me. That's why I think it resonates for so many people, um,
yeah.
as well. But I also I think back to that time, and the WNBA draft was like a totally different feel, right? It was almost this backyard feel at the time, right? It was not,
Yeah.
it wasn't big time in that same way. And I wonder how you feel about it. Does it feel like you were at the part of the beginning of something in that experience? Do you wish that you had been part of what it felt like in 2023? Just how do you process that when you look back?
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing what draft night has become and
Mhm,
what it is now. It's very glam. It's very cool, right?
mhm,
Um, and I honestly think I wouldn't be as comfortable in today's draft
hmm,
as I was then, only because I am pretty reserved. Um, but yeah, it was kind of backstage, but I liked it. It was intimate and it was just a beautiful evening of celebrating everyone's achievements and new chapters starting. And I think it's also like it was the beginning of the draft becoming bigger, right? Both
mhm,
me and Jewel, we left school early.
right.
So that was also something that was new. Um, but we also found ourselves. Like that was the beginning of adulthood, I think, where we were trying to figure ourselves out. And I think in today's, I'm gonna sound old when I say this, but in today's generation, right,
Mhm,
these players and people are expected to grow up so fast, and there's so much more on the table for them. So, therefore, I think that the glamorous and the flashiness of the draft now suits them so well. I love looking at the outfits, hearing what they got to say. They got the jewelry, the heels, the dress, like everything is just on point.
mhm.
And I love that because they most of the time they know exactly who they are, right? They walk on the orange carpet and they like, no, this is who I am and this is my brand. And I love that. And it's helping the game grow for us, the ones, the ones that paved the way. It sounds like I'm so old, but it
No,
was 9 years ago, so I'm
you're
allowed to
you're
say
not, listen, you're not allowed to be old because I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember, like, we're talking orange carpet, and you remember what the orange carpet was at the 2015 draft. It was like backstage at Mohegan, and it was just like players taking off their shoes and running back and forth because
that.
it was late in the night and we're just having fun. I remember it so
Yeah.
clearly. And yeah, now it's like it's a
It's
state.
a whole event. It's a flashy
Yeah,
event, and I love
it's
it
awesome.
because it's like you get to see people's like personalities and brands and with the game growing now, you have all of these sponsorships like
Mhm.
this is what we want. So we look at it and we see exactly who we want. And I just love it so much. I just think that at that time, I wouldn't have been ready for it because
Mhm.
I'm kind of like awkward. So I would have probably just stood in the corner with my mom.
I I don't think I listen. Yeah, you sold yourself short as a player. I just completed a book manuscript where I'm going through your Minnesota years, and you had 29 rebounds in a game at U
I
of M.
know.
Like I can't let that pass. I'm sorry. I've been witness to a lot of the things you have done on the court. So we're not going to let that go. But I'm just saying the other part of it, like you and Rachel Bannum back in 2015, like in the NIL years, can you imagine what that would have been like? Like you guys would have blown
I
up.
would have been so rich.
I'm saying it's just it's
Yeah.
it's it's a mixed. It's got to be a mixed feeling, right? At some level,
Oh no, for sure. Like
yeah.
obviously we would have loved to make money and
Mm,
having all of these deals at that age. So it's like, okay, it's like not jealousy, it's more so like, oh dang. But
yeah.
at the same time, there's a reason for everything. And one of my favorite quotes is or interviews is when Bob Marley's asked, like his whoever interviewed him was like, "But you are rich," and he said, "Rich in what?" Right? I'm rich. I am super rich in knowledge, love, and light and positivity,
Yeah.
and there's nothing that can take that away from me, right? And that's what I've gained throughout these years. Obviously, I've made a lot of money and I'm still making money playing overseas, playing in the WNBA, and having a great support cast that makes sure that I don't just spend my money. We
Yeah.
saving and we building.
Good.
Um, so yeah, richness come in different shape and forms. But yeah, I think I'm happy with my journey.
Good.
That
Good.
is still journeying, if that's the word.
And there's plenty to come. There's plenty to come.
Right.
And so that's where I want to kind of take it full circle, because I know, and we've talked about this other times too, but like finding that joy in WNBA life, and um, it shouldn't be the case that it takes until 2023 to be in a healthy locker room. There needs to be that needs to change, right? And so I guess what I'm wondering from you is the fact that you had it in DC and you have it here in Indiana, do you feel as if there is more accountability, not universally, but more throughout the league? Do you feel as if joy in WNBA life is something that is not universal yet, but is it more common than it was?
That is a great question. I don't know how it is in other locker rooms, to be honest. I have friends in probably every team and everyone's are happy. Um, and I'm not saying this to talk down on any other team that I've been on.
Sure.
But going into DC made me uncomfortable because it was so healthy that I had to sit back and really tell myself, like, this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have clear communication. You're supposed to get to know your teammates off the court. There's real, genuine, and true love. amongst them. And that's what I mean with healthy relation or a healthy locker room, like it is here in Indy. There's a beautiful, beautiful energy in the locker room, right? And you feel it. And even, I think me making that shot, and it wasn't the game-winning shot, it was just a shot in the fourth quarter, but seeing how my teammates reacted, and I've only been here for 3 seconds, that's love, right? And it's not like that everywhere.
Yeah.
And I get it. The WNBA, it can be very stressful. We have 12 teams. There's only so many spots on each team, right? So it is stressful. Everyone trying to win games. Everyone wants to play. There's always that one superstar, you know. But this year been good to me. Yeah. It's been good to my mental health. And I'm very grateful for that.
Well, if you'll forgive a point of personal privilege, there is not a person in this league who deserves that more than you. And so I am delighted with it. I cannot wait to tell all the stories still to come, because there's a lot still to come. So to our listeners, thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of what we do every single day. The great Jackie Powell will be taking you tomorrow. And of course, the WNBA Draft crew on Saturday will be with you as well. So until next time, I am Howard Megdal for Locked On Women's Basketball, wishing all of you a wonderful Thursday.
Ogunbowale for the win. Good!
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.